Does curve matter? Safety is key, and when designing a roadway or trying to improve an existing road, does the curve of the road impact the safety of that road? Are there more important areas in need of improvement? Finding the most important factors that impact safety can help cities and states to prioritize where improvements can best be made based on their budget. First, before we dive into an answer to the level of importance of each type of horizontal curve, let's take a look at the 4 different types of horizontal curves that roads are designed with. Those being simple, reverse, compound, and spiral curves. First, the most basic of the 4, with simple just being a standard arc of a circle with a singular radius. This is the most common as it is the easiest to design for roadways all around. The second being a compound curve with 2 curves with different radii combined together, usually placed in locations where the terrain demands its usage. The third is the reverse curve with 2 simple curves combined together but curving in opposite directions. This kind is typically avoided on highways for the danger of having a hidden sightline for oncoming vehicles with increased danger for larger trucks. It has its own warning sign and as such is less common on many roadways and is only used in this case to better match with the existing mountain range. The last is a transition or spiral curve which has varying radius throughout that is used to connect to a tangent or a simple curve or between simple curves. This is used on most modern highways today. Let's jump into a specific example of a compound curve on State Route 126 to use to take a look at the possible need of change for an improvement to safety. Compound curves are not as often used due to the need arising from local terrain being a main draw to usage. This specific case is most likely utilized due to this bridge that required a certain angle of entry for crossing. There's some information online that pushes that this change of radius in a compound curve can cause driver confusion or increase risk of accidents. However, there's conflicting information where some research has shown an increase of risk for compound curves while others have found an improved safety with compound curves. Both have a very slight impact based on both studies, but what was found in both of these studies was that factors that impacted the safety of the road and the frequency of crashes more were lane widths, curve lengths, daily traffic, and the curve radius. Also, while roadways that have more curves in the road have a higher safety probability, curves with a lower radii or a sharper turn have an increased risk. The type of curve doesn't impact the safety of the road, or at least not enough to justify the large price tag for larger construction to change the design of the road altogether. Smaller, less costly improvements can be done that have a higher impact, such as adding guide rails with delineators on curves. This has been shown to reduce total, fatal plus injury, runoff road, and nighttime crashes. This has already been done on this curve, but not the actual curve itself, and also not where the majority of the crashes occur, which account for the 20% of hit object crashes at this curve. Delineators on guide rails are especially important in rural areas such as this one, where at night the main and almost sole source of light are headlights on vehicles. A lot of these changes can come back to one single source of change needed: speed. Reducing the lane width causes people to drive slower as they don't have as much comfortability. Increasing the curve length can cause the turn to be straighter and allow for higher speeds with less slowdown to turn. A lower radius causing increased crashes can seem unrelated, but one of the deadliest and most common type of crashes on roadways like this are head-on or broadside. These types of crashes can be explained by cars not going slow enough for the turns, as shown as accidents at this compound curve are made up of around 45% broadside and head-on crashes. Compound curves are more of an aspect of the road itself to be taken account of, instead of a target for improved safety through removal. So what matters more to safety? Crossings, the point of conflict in roadways where there is the most increased amount of danger, especially for a crossing placed on a road such as the 126. Having to cross 5 lanes of traffic, one being a left-hand turn, and with the addition of 2 bike lanes on both sides, makes this an extremely dangerous crossing. The reason for this crossing being placed here specifically is for the Santa Clara Elementary School, which makes this poorly designed crossing worse, as it is being expected that this crossing should be used by children as young as 5 years old. On a road with a 55 mph speed limit that few follow, this is asking for a death in itself. The only warning or protections that children have are a few signs: marking of a crossing in the roadway, flashing lights warning of the crossing, a bit of added striping for this bike lane, and a simple intersection that blends in with all the other simple connections along this roadway. All those things are combined with a single light above it during nighttime. So the question is, why hasn't there been a death yet? The obvious: people don't use it. It's very clearly not safe, and so instead of parents allowing their children to walk to school, they just drive them. Not every bit of infrastructure is used, and just because a crossing or road is built does not mean that it will see its purpose that it was intended to accomplish. This crossing to be made safer for not just adults, but also the children. The addition of a traffic signal could improve the crossing drastically, but this would come at a higher price tag. Even with the addition of a signal, the aim to improve safety would require larger changes, such as a median in the middle of the road to provide pedestrians with a refuge island to pause and wait instead of crossing all at once. Smaller changes, such as adding a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, doesn't change the poor design altogether, but could improve the crosswalk if combined with the refuge island. With this small dive into both the crossing and the compound curve has shown that sometimes there just isn't a benefit to slowly looking at the data. Yes, finding areas with high crash rates and aiming at improving those places should be a top priority, like the curve on the 126. But sometimes the data doesn't show all places that are even more dangerous just because people don't use the infrastructure. The aim should be to look at both of these places, both hotspots for crashes, but also the areas that look into the future for improving safety enough so people feel the ability to use them.